We spreken met Tomas Cavallaro.
My name is Tomas Cavallaro, and this is the Grain Silo Gallery here in Westerdijk. And we are a collective of artists. We have been here for 3 years this month. 3 years ago this month we started the gallery. And we are still in our infancy, but we are growing and healthy and happy here. Today we have this month and the next month where we have a less of an exhibit and more of a space for meditation. It's more of a space for us to explore possibilities. We have a number of books here that are on meditation. We have a meditation chamber, and this month's exhibit is called Metaphysics.
There's a certain Mr. Carey who seems to play a role in what you're doing.
Yes, Ken Carey is a gentleman from the United States. Very brief story of who he is. He's a carpenter. He was ill at one time of his life, and through it, he, what is popularly called channeling, received some messages from, well, he has to say extraterrestrials, because they don't qualify for living or coming from this plane of our existence, our material plane of existence, the physical plane. He comes from the spiritual plane, and so for that he qualifies as an extraterrestrial. These stories, when I first read it, I actually had to be given this book. Over the last 4 years or so, many people have told me, "Oh, Thomas, you should read this book." And at one moment, a person who I describe as a fallen angel actually placed the book in my hands. And it was at the moment that I was reading it that I received a fax. I was in New York at the time from the gallery, and the subject matter this month was metaphysics. I was being asked if I'd like to participate, and I said, hallelujah, yes. And we did an interesting performance on opening night, and each Sunday here we were doing some readings from the book. This evening we're doing...
What is the general drift of what Mr. Carey received?
Well, it's an interesting question. It's our purpose here. He says that when we came first to this planet of material plane, we were first spirits. And then we wanted to experience things, physical body, a physical chair, a physical room. And so we placed ourselves to sleep so that we can feel these things without coming from the spirit, looking at ourselves, experiencing it, not from the spirit, but from only the physical part. So we forgot our spiritual selves. This is now the 3rd millennium. Astrologers have been telling this. Aztecs have been telling this to us. Many religions, many cultures have been telling us that this is going to be a new world order of some kind, and a spiritual world order. When I read the book, every page I turned, I read it and I said, somehow I know this. And I turned another page. Somehow I know this. And as I turned more and more pages, it became clear to me that this is some kind of universal information that we have simply forgotten. And Ken Carey, his goal through his channeling, this is what it's called, a channeling book, because it comes through him, is here to awake us, to ring the alarm clock. The millennia is coming, and we need to recognize our spiritual selves more than the physical.
There are many channelers. One of them is Edgar Cayce.
Yes.
Similar name somewhere, and
yes, I know.
Set. There's many books. How does your inspiration differs from what these people have channeled?
Oh, that's a very good question as well. To me, it is very poetic. the language that is used in it, the person who is speaking is struggling with the human language. It's explained in this one way, which even it to me is very poetic. Is that our original language that we have forgotten is not the verbal language. This was meant for commerce, but the language of light was the language, and it's the language of light. Light is a source, an energy source that is alive. So the information that comes through it is a living, live language, and it's direct. In his book, he says, "My job is finished when I have awakened you to this ancient language. And then it would be known, you will know who I am. You will see me then as part of yourselves. Right now you see me as outside yourselves."
Many of the art objects in the gallery now have something to do with either sound or light. Is that because of this work?
This is, I would love to say yes, but it is actually how shall I say it? The universe conspired to make it happen. It's happenstance, but is anything really an accident? I don't know. I don't really think so. So I'd like to say, a bit more poetically, like Ken Carey, the world has conspired to make this set of objects here. This is like a waterfall, this object that's here. And the other sound machines are very reminiscent of the sound of Om.
You see that it's...
And we dig a little bit deeper in where Tomas Cavallaro comes from.
I'm a storyteller, that's for sure. I'm an artist as well, a painter. I'm also a teacher.
When you say storyteller, what fascinates you by telling stories?
Actually, they're not stories normally of what's happened to other people. Normally, they are occasions or occurrences that have happened to me through my life. They are sometimes a bit dramatic on the psychic side, and I've had them all my life. There's nothing I can do. I can't ignore them.
When you tell a story, do you have like a mental image of what you're going to tell and that you describe that? What's your technique?
No, it's less of a technique, more of an association. Someone will be telling me something about what's occurred or happening with them, and then I will have a visual image of an occurrence that reminds me. It's an association process, actually.
Your stories are about what? About life, death, or love?
Oh, that's an interesting question to ask in just that manner. It's a combination of things. It's, if I should call it, a soup. A soup does not have any one ingredient. It has many ingredients in it. So as a soup, it is basically about the passion of life and living and exploring and enjoying this world. And can I put it in one single phrase? Being in the moment. That's the key.
That's a cue that many people, I remember Being Here Now by Ram Dass. I mean, everybody has told us through the ages, but it's not an easy process. To be here now is hard.
Well, only because we've forgotten how to be here now. It doesn't mean thinking about what happened to us an hour ago. It doesn't mean planning on something that's going to happen an hour from now. It means breathing. It means feeling the heat from the fire. It means looking into your eyes and talking to you, not talking at you, and listening to you. That's the moment. That's what it's requiring of me. I'd forgotten how to do that too, some parts of my life, and I had to be shown.
Now, your inspiration is a certain Carey, a guy who channeled some information about where we come from and where we're going. How does that relate to being here now in the moment?
That's a good question too. At the moment, he is my inspiration, but I've had others in the past as well, and they have a core, they have a central theme to it, and the central theme is spirit. The central theme is that our intent. What do we want to do? Stop going around our daily activities unconsciously. Consciously know what you're doing at the moment. And then all future moments fall into place. the universe, would be happy to conspire to make your world happy for you. All it wants is instructions from us. If we give it poor instructions and give it unclear intention, it gives us unclear intention. It's as simple as that.
Now you say Carrie was your inspiration, but this
Yes.
sounds a little bit like Gurdjieff and other mystical teachers that have taught us the same truth about, well, Gurdjieff called it working on yourself, but basically he said, be aware, know where you are now.
This is true. Why are we surprised that many enlightened people or inspired people are saying the same thing? There is only one central truth through it all. And so if many people are saying the same thing, does it devalue the story, or does it give credibility to it that it is true? It has to be true.
Yeah, but in former ages, former centuries,
Yes.
there were people who say we get the same message, but we got it from a light being, which we call an angel.
Yes, of course.
And now you talk about an extraterrestrial. Are they different?
No, they're exactly the same. They are, in fact, what we were before the fall, before we came here. They are what we will be when we leave here. But they are showing us, teaching us, revealing themselves to us in our cultural moment. It would have been no use 300, 800, 900 years ago to appear as in a spaceship, because we didn't know what that was. An angel was closer to our belief system.
Is what you're saying that we are in touch with another reality and that we color it according to the present teachings, books, religion that we have?
Yes, this is true. I'd rather say it. That it's colored more by our present stage of enlightenment. It is a process, and that's the process that we're coming to a conclusion to. We've had many stories of the end of the world. The end of the world is not happening.
Yeah, but there have been stories like that for ages. When the year 1000 came,
That's true.
and it didn't happen. Why would it happen now?
Well, because for their time, their world did end. It did happen for them. It's going to happen for us too. This planet will still be here, but we are now entering a different way of being. And so we have progressed from the animal instincts to the cultural forms, and now we're beginning to give up the cultural forms, give up the animal instincts, and become more a spiritual entity. See how the world.
Yes, we hear some sounds here because part of what we have in this thing is strange sounds. Explain a little bit what it is.
That's true. The sounds here are not of a programmed. They're not programmed. They are not of a.
Would you call them random?
They are yes. They are random, completely random. They are using gravity to help its random. They are using some program by the artist to turn a motor on and off. But what comes from the spinning of the wheels and as it strikes multiple objects is totally random.
And what's the purpose? What's the effect on the viewer, listener?
Well, the effect is this. When we enter a place or hear things that don't have a clear rhythm, but still are very peaceful in their nature, they have us automatically, a certain time, according to the individual, a sense of balance. It's like shifting from left leg to right leg over and over again. At a moment, we know where our center is. We feel that center. Part of this building is very inspirational in that way, too. There is no door that is correctly sized for a human being. This is, in fact, building was never made for a human being. It was a machine. We are basically church mice living in a church clock, an abandoned clock. And if you enter a building, a normal cafe, a normal house, we are consciously, moment by moment, holding that place intact, knowing how big the door is, how big the window is, how big the chair and table is. But here, it was never meant for human beings. There are no normal spatial relationships.
The building we're in is actually what is known as the silo, the graan silo, which is near the IJ in Amsterdam.
That's so. Yeah.
Form and content. Coming back to this book by Mr. Carey.
Yes.
It seems that, so you say in different times, depending on the belief system, on our situation, we give a different form. But for what content? What is really out there?
Well, we are here for a reason. We're not here for a total accident. We're here for a sense of development. We are, if you want to say it, we're the eyes and ears of God. We are the sensing. I don't mean to shock by using the word God, the saying that we are. We are a piece of Him.
If you say Mr. Carey tells us that we are really a material expression of spirit world, yes. But who, then the spirits have a problem. Who is their God?
Oh well, there's only one creator. We always go back to, and even scientists today, which is a very remarkable thing. Science is coming with the same conclusions that the people spiritual people have believed for centuries, and that is that there was only one creation, and that was, for the scientists, the Big Bang. That was, if we want to think of it, the initial thought.
Yes, and many religions, like the Hindus, have a fairly good description of it, in as far as now science tells us. Yes. Yeah, it's better than a God out of heaven saying, "Hey, I create heaven and earth and Adam and Eve." It was more like some of the old sages knew. But in fact, by believing in extraterrestrials, don't we put the story, the question about who created this and why, just at a higher level? Isn't it an excuse not to live now?
No, actually, it's an excuse to live now. More than anything else, it tells me that we are all branches of an initial thought pattern, but each one of us has a separate function. I mean, my legs are not doing the same job as my arm is, but yet I am still in one being. You call me by the name Tomas, but I have many fingers, and they all do an independent job to each other. That does not mean that this is alien from my toes. It just means that it works dependent and independently. This is the universe. Why are we so surprised? Why can't we look at our own bodies to see the way the universe is built? Yet I can communicate to you. We are not connected. And yet you understand what I'm saying through the magic of television, through our resources of thinking human beings. We've communicated throughout the entire world instantly. This is just brain patterns going through our own cells at different rates and different speeds. It's really the same process, an exchange of information, gathering together for a specific goal.
Do you see the dangers? There's many people out there in the world who say, oh yes, the UFOs and the extraterrestrials, they're going to come and save the world or not save the world. I mean, let's prepare a starship or to go out, the Earth is going to die. They use it as an excuse to not live in the now. It becomes their dream world.
Okay, I'll give you a quote for Ken Carey for that exact argument. There is only the best way to prepare for any future moment. I'll say it again. The best way to prepare for any future moment is to be in this moment. I'll give you a...
Is time an illusion then?
Oh, time's an invention. I mean, you have a watch on your wrist and others have a watch on their wrists, and we agree to the time. Is language an illusion? You have one word for water, the French have another, English have a third. Is that an illusion or an agreement of the reality that we have here?
Well, yet some people seem to get into meditative states or using, like I used, ketamine, which is a drug that gives you the illusion that not only you lose the ego, but that time has no longer a meaning.
I don't know this drug. Through meditation, time has no meaning. You're correct. Time has... there is no past and present or future. There's only the now. The practical example, I will give you this. If I'm on a tram and somebody steps on my foot, I feel pain for that moment and maybe a few moments later. But if I am annoyed at this person 20 minutes, 20 hours later, I am keeping that pain alive moment to moment in my head, and I'm responsible for that pain that I'm keeping alive.
You don't think it is like embedded in the muscle structure and in the nerve structure of your feet, so that any moment that you think about your feet, the pain comes back?
That's been proven to be so for people who are
Ghost limbs?
somatic illnesses, and yes, ghost limbs. Yes, the brain has a pattern, and there's a pathway that's created. That pathway goes both ways. Psychiatrists will tell you that. Spiritual leaders, people who teach you an exercise like Tai Chi Chuan, will say it doesn't matter whether your brain is balanced or your body is balanced first. One will follow the other. So yes, it's an exchange. You know, a door opens, but it opens for both. Things come through.
What do you intend to do with this Mr. Carey? When is he dead?
No, Mr. Carey, Ken Carey still is alive. He still does some channeling. He goes on many lectures and tours on the subject. His specific goal, if I could speak for him, is that his purpose is to have more and more people aware of this information. And in a way, his book touches me, and I carry that through.
How's the book called?
The name of the book is The Starseed Transmissions. It's also a second book called The Third Millennium, and there's a third book called The Return of the Bird Tribes. Return of the Bird Tribes. And the bird tribes, yeah. That was specifically about American Indians. Each culture has our own purpose and goal. Again, each cell in a group of cells in the collective brain. Our purpose, you mentioned what other people were saying, using it as an excuse not to live. Oh, let's build spaceships and go to other planets. That's in fact our next stage in our evolution of human beings, is to leave this physical place, this earth, according to Ken Carey.
It sounds a little bit like the Celestian prophecies.
Yes,
where
exactly. Exactly. It is a companion concept. Again, why are we surprised when we keep hearing the same information from different sources? Are you surprised when you turn on the television set and you watch the news and the radio that the weather is going to be sunny on all of the TV stations?
No, but you can be a little bit critical. Some people remark that the Celestian prophecies, although it's a very popular book, has its seeds in the Scientology belief system. Especially the Scientology way of learning to see the reality and the unreality of what we experience.
Well, they're saying some basic concept that is still correct, whether it is overly structured or not, like some religions of the world had initially a very clean, pure seed of the concept, the heart, the spirit of it, but then at a moment get over-involved in being organized. And that's central consistency is our two selves, our left side or our right side of the brain, according to the scientists, controlling one side or the other, or the spirit and the body, or heaven and hell, or Satan and God. So it is basically the same. I don't want to call it duality, because I rather call it a pair. Some people say, I will not do anything that is to the left side, that is the wrong side, that is the bad side. I don't choose between my left leg and right leg. I do not hop along the world only on my right leg because it's the right hand of God or something. I use them both together. In between the two, there is a sense of off balance for a moment, and that's where I find my center, who I am,